There you go.
My name is Woody Moldenhauer. I'm Old Fast Bikes in Raytown, Missouri. Lived here since 2006. I own a house over on 77th Terrace. K Park, skate park, needs to be rebuilt. Needs to be completely revamped, updated, and I'd like to rebuild it. The company that sells those modular parks, ARC, American Ramp Company, they're kind of a blight in the entire industry, BMX and skateboarding. They've got numerous lawsuits right now. Parks that they've built on the East Coast are literally rusting away. I know I've talked to Kevin about this. You guys just spent a considerable amount of money to repaint them with a product that ARC recommended. And I went and looked at it today, and I understand now why they recommended that. It's a textured, heavy-duty paint. Well, and you can see through my PowerPoint that I gave Kevin, the people that put the paint on, and unless you have somebody that rides bikes or skates, knows you wouldn't put textured paint on coating. It doesn't slide, it sticks, which makes it even more dangerous than it already is. The reason ARC is telling people to use this paint is because metal surface ramps are inherently the worst material for that application. It's slippery. There's no way to make it not slippery. The only way to make it not slippery is to use that textured paint. Then it's too sticky. You can't slide, you stick, you fall. It makes everything even worse. Not counting just the design of the park, it's not conducive with either of the sports. They've made a very good living taking advantage of city councils all over. They're horribly overpriced. And yeah, it's anytime anyone brings up ARC, the first thing they say is, oh, the big blue ramps. We managed to keep them out of Lee Summit. Lee Summit now is an all-cement, really nice park. We kept them out of Penn Valley. It's taken a concerted effort to stop them from getting in and putting these parks set up anywhere. Belton actually just threw theirs away. They built an all-cement park right in front of the police station. The type of setup I'm talking about building would be all out of CCA treated lumber with skate light, which is the industry standard for ramp surfaces. It's a product, skate light. There's also another product called Ramp Armor, which I used on a ramp I built for Kansas City that's at Spoke Park. It doesn't wear, it won't hold graffiti, you can wipe it off. It's basically 166 layers of like a fiberglass material. It's compressed at 8,000 pounds. Once it's on, it's done. You don't ever have to maintain it, paint it, and it's an ideal surface for that sport. And then also just the design of the park itself to make it more conducive towards the sports, BMX and skating. The way it's set up now, you've got all this dead area in behind, which being a member of that community and that neighborhood, I drive to Lee Summit because there's no sense in going to that park just because of the setup and also the element that's there. The few times I have been there, you just have kids all behind them, smoking, getting high, screwing around. It's because it's created a dead spot for them to hang out. And nobody, most people at my level of riding or of even an intermediate or expert level of skating would want to use that park. If they did, like with Lee Summit, Penn Valley, any of the really good parks, even Grandview, they're going to police themselves. You have a higher clientele there that's like, hey, don't do that, you're screwing it up for everybody else. If you eliminate those dead spots, push everything back to the fence to where people can't hang out, to where you've either got to be on the deck using the park, you eliminate a vast majority of the negative element that hangs out there. So part of the reason I want to rebuild it is, one, it's a half a block from my house. I'd love to have a place to go ride. But I'm also 39. I'm only going to be able to ride for so much longer, so it's more of just, personal fun there. But I own that house, and there's no way I'm going to be able to sell my house with the way the housing market is. So I'm going to be in Raytown for quite some time, and I'd like to see Carnegie become a little bit nicer place to go without having to worry about as much stuff going on. Also, with the metal ramps, they are inherently loud, ridiculously loud. From my house on a Saturday morning, kang, 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 I can hear it because it's like trash cans. You're just banging them. there's no way of making that quiet. And I talked to Kevin, and ARC sold the soundproofing package, which unless they filled that with spray foam, which I know they didn't, there's no way of quieting that down. With a wooden structure, it's boxed in, it's a dense material. You can actually go to Swope Park, and if there's anybody riding the ramp that I built there, it's dead silent. Outside of just the sound of wheels rolling on it, the sound is less than half of what the metal ramps are. And I know just from the neighbors I've talked to over there, if I owned a house across the street from that, I would have gone nuts by now, because it's all day loud, very loud. Plus just the aesthetic. It's just painted blue, not necessarily the surface now because the texture paint that's been put on, but it just stands out like a sore thumb. Whereas with the treated CCA lumber, it would resemble more of like the shelter house that's there. It would just look better aesthetically. It would fit in with the park. That CCA treated lumber, it's a pain just to mark when you're building with it because of the chemical they use in there. It won't hold marker, it won't hold paint. So if somebody does decide to graffiti it or try and do anything to it, it's going to come off very easy. It's going to look better for longer. And comparatively, the park now, when I took photos this morning, where the plate steel comes down on a couple of the ramps, it's pulled off the cement. You basically got, if someone falls into that, they're just going to get ripped to shreds. And it's because that material is not conducive for those sports. And that company, in our community, they are looked upon, they're the worst, absolute worst. And they've sold a lot of these setups to a lot of communities, and a lot of people are not happy with them. Actually, I showed Kevin this. There's a website called Skaters for Quality Skate Parks. And it's just third parties, newspapers, TV stations that have done stories, personal people that have made their own videos. And it's just park after park after park that has, if you're on the East Coast, those things aren't, there's one that was built in 2005, it's unusable. It's rusted completely through just because of the salt in the air. Well, they're telling communities, they're telling city councils that this stuff is powder coated, and it's not. It's just standard blue paint. And as you guys see, it wears off, and then you have to coat it with something else, which there's no amount of coating with that sport. It's going to flake off. It's going to scratch up. Where with skate light or ramp armor, you can go to Swope Park and see that stuff right now, or Grandview, which is all skate light. It looks brand new. It won't wear. I mean, that's what it's made for, is for that. That, you can see with the cost analysis I've done, I'm doing it for basically base labor to get it done, just because I'd like to see it done. It's about half of what ARC charged for that ramp setup.
Is the one in Grandview you're talking about over in Meadowmere?
Yes.
3,000.
And then where's the one in Swope Park?
One in Swope Park, if you know where to buy tickets to get to Starlight Theater up top. It used to be at Berkeley Park. That's where originally it was supposed to stay, and it was supposed to go to Penn Valley when they got their cement park. They decided they didn't want it there, they wanted to put it in a parking lot at Swope Park, where, personal opinion, worst place to put it. No one even knows it's there.
It's a huge half pipe?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 6 foot, 8 foot, 36 feet wide.
I'll take my kids out to Grandview.
Oh, and that's a really good park.
They've skated on that park.
How long would it take to do it?
Leisurely, 90 days. Take me 90 days. If I am in the winter time, my business will be slow. I have a warehouse off Hadley, that's where my shop's at, so I've got the room to build everything in sections, everything up there.
So what's the advantage of what you're going to build with CCA versus concrete?
Concrete?
I know
basically it's going to cost about,
huge.
it's the cost.
But if renovations didn't happen now and they were waited until concrete could be potentially paid for, I'm curious.
The metal's going to keep flaking up, paint's going to keep coming off, kids are going to keep going up there and screwing around and doing what they've been doing for the last 8 years almost now. But it's one of those things where the sooner it gets done, there's been a pretty large resurgence with skateboarding and BMX. The BMX track is, I'd like to think, have a little bit to do with that by having the only BMX shop here, but their numbers have almost tripled. Like, it's becoming really big again. You add in a really good park that attracts really good skateboarders, really good bikers, you're going to have a higher clientele, you're going to have less people up there screwing around.
Because we have a lot of people we lose business to now, not business, not like we're making money off of it, but to Lee Summit, so.
Honestly, and this is no reflection on the city council, because ARC has a great marketing campaign. If they didn't, they have been selling, it's unbelievable. And most of the time, you know, unless you're someone of my age that knows somebody whose husband was a BMX rider,
right.
You'd never know. And how would you know? They're giving you all the information. And yeah, that's how they've managed to sell so much of these things to all the city's councils. But it's, yeah.
But I'm just saying what you're wanting to do in comparison to something like Lee Summit set up, which I know they.
It's the cost.
Okay.
I can do it much cheaper, and that CCA treated wood, you can bury it in the dirt. It's not going to rot. And with the way you have to build, whatever your industry standard is, like if you build a deck, everything's centered on 16, it's twice that for building this. Everything has to be centered on a foot. You have to have a cross brace every 6 inches. Anything less than that, you can feel the ribs, you can feel how it's put together. There's a lot to it. I have, since age 14, built a lot of ramps, learned through a lot of trial and error, and finally got to a point where I'd say when I opened, I used to own Hardcore Sports. We were the first indoor skate park in Kansas City in 1999. For 5 years we did that until the free outdoor parks started to come into fruition. And once that happened, you can have the greatest hot dogs in the world for 25 cents. If someone's giving them away for free, you are going to go out of business. It just does. You can't sell what someone's giving away for free.
So for 78.5, are you looking at the same size as what it is now?
It would be basically, and I'm running behind. This is kind of what I have in mind. This is just a Google SketchUp. I didn't have a chance to make copies. We didn't close till 7.
Fine. I'm just these.
This is where the gateway is now. We could leave the existing fence there, push everything to the fence to eliminate the dead spaces. But the way this is set up, you've got stuff here for the skateboarders. They love cement stairs. I don't know why they don't use it to jump over them, but that's what they like. Cement ledges that are built onto the wood platforms with a smooth basement concrete where they can wax it all they want. Once that's done, there is no maintenance. They'll just use it forever. All this here with the wedges, skateboarders like wedges a lot. BMXers are a little bit more prone to transition, but there are still a lot of skateboarders that like transition. So it's a good meet in the middle, but it creates no dead space for people who aren't using the park to just be hanging out. And that's the biggest problem, is you have a lot of just hanging out.
Yeah, it's like tennis up there on there, line tennis.
Just hanging out.
Yeah.
And exactly. And that's the thing. If you're hanging out on one of these decks, you're going to get ran over.
And this is also a lot more conducive to the site.
It's a little bit more conducive. I'd say it's about a good 50-50 mix, but
in comparison to what's there now.
And honestly, that place is good for skateboarders and bikes.
Wow.
It's just, and I mean, once again, that's what is so infuriating about ARC is they're just knocking these things out, and anybody that's even slightly been in sports, either the sports for any amount of time, is just like, oh, like there's a big push against it. Just Google American Ramp Company, and it comes up. It's pretty bad.
Would there be rails at all?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I'm not a Google sketch master. I couldn't figure out how to put the rails on. But I'm thinking probably down this set of stairs, an angled rail, and possibly a second one next to it. One good solid rail down, like the one that's there now, it's long. It's unusable. Right. It looks like a rail. It looks like a skate park, but for actual use.
Where are the Rosedale?
That was a short-lived company that purchased the user rights to, or the license rights to the name Woodward. Woodward is the camp in Pennsylvania and now in Westwood, California. That's the camp where kids go. They can be there for a week. Top notch. Those ramps are amazing. They're built by Jack Murphy. That's who builds all of the Dew Tour X Games. That's all his stuff. That's not his stuff there. That's a third-party company that spent a bunch of money to get the name. They're gone now. And it's better than ARC, but it's still really California Parks that did that just had a street league as a their stuff is really good. Like Vine, California Parks is and Valley is amazing. Swarmer off of 63rd and Lackland, which is a huge cement park. Really Now, the guys that did Grandview, not bad, but you're still, if you were to
The park over in Mission is off of
77.
West Boulevard.
No.
I-70.
Yeah.
Free. Oh, no, you're thinking KC
No,
North.
No, it's not anymore.
There's an indoor.
No, the park. It's
There's 77th and Mission in Prairie Village.
no. It's I-70. No, 35.
Something that we will take under advisement and look at is good information, something you need to know, but not something we're going to act on right now tonight.
Oh, no, I kind of.
Cut me a check. Bring that information. I think you also had your information in here, where how we could reach you.
Oh, yeah. I'm easy to get a hold of.
Thanks a lot.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 3, FY 11-12 Park and Recreation Department budget.
There is a handout included in your packet, and I'll be happy to answer any questions the board may have. We anticipated revenue is $1.221 million. Total expenditures $1,220,356,000. We anticipate capital projects for the year $20,000 going towards Super Splash, $7,000 going towards the Coleman Park ball field renovation, and we will get that underway soon. And I believe that is it. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about the budget. Again, it goes before the Board of ALdermen tomorrow night for approval.
If you were to address that state park issue, that would have to come out of some reserve fund.
Correct. Yeah, that would have to be an appropriation by the Park Board.
So you passed by the board.
Park Board and then to the Board of ALdermen, correct. And that's not in our current budget, as I understand it. Yes, we do need a motion to approve the budget.
So we have a motion to approve the budget. Is there a second? Okay, board, thank you. We have a motion and a second. Now, we'll open it back up for questions or discussion. Hearing none. George, did you have a question?
Did we ever answer your question? Yeah. Okay. It was nice. Good. I assume that. Okay. Just looking at the budget real quick. Is highlighted part of that? Just the part that was highlighted, or is highlighted for the reason?
No, it wasn't highlighted for a reason. I was just looking at those particular numbers on the day that I printed it for.
The employees are being addressed salary-wise in the same fashion as the city employees.
That is correct. Should the city approve a one-time lump sum payment, as I understand, that will include park board or park department employees, and that would be $500 or 1% of your salary.
Whichever is higher.
Whichever.
I can put a plug into that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I conclude that, to the best of my knowledge, Raytown is the only city in the metropolitan area this year who has not had any layoffs, who has not had any furlough days. And we're knock on wood tomorrow night, we're going to be able to give the employees a much deserved one-time compensation. I want everybody else in the metropolitan area to look at that and say, look what Raytown is able to do. And we reduce the overall city budget by 7%.
I do have a question about the recommended budget line. And I know it was discussed at some meetings and whatnot.
So I was just, the majority of everything, it's supposed to have been wondering why we have it there.
Where, I don't understand.
The requested, under proposed budget, there's requested budget, and then there's a recommended budget.
And that's finance director.
That's a formatting issue, because it's what, when you originally started your budget process, there was a recommended, is that the first one?
Requested.
Requested, that's requested, and then when it goes through the ferreting process, a review by the other department managers, by the finance director, by the city administrator, then it becomes the recommended budget as it goes to the Board of ALdermen, and then it becomes the appropriated budget. So it's a trail, and the whole budget document, Michelle, right now is the one that it traces from the day that you guys first talked about what you wanted to do in 2012. This is a trail of everything that happened through October 18th of this year, the final budget. It shows everything that happened, every bit of correspondence, every discussion, things that were added, things that were deleted through that process, and clear document.
Okay, and this is the example of what I was talking about earlier, the requested budget and the amortization fund numbers are completely marked out as recommended ones. And I don't know how were the recommendation line has. I don't know what necessarily we're approving. Are we approving the recommendation, or are we approving the requested?
Kevin, do you know?
We're approving the recommended budget tonight. And regarding the amortization account, that is still a question in our mind. I have to be honest. I'm not sure how.
Okay, can you say that again? We're approving the
recommended budget.
Okay, how can, okay, well, I have to decline, because I don't have enough information there, so.
I know a significant amount of our funds are now invested in a money market account, somewhere in the neighborhood of $800,000
Right.
are now safely invested and are earning a small amount of interest. I cannot answer I can't address your specific
Then I
question.
can't take a budget that removes our amortization fund from our budget and approve it when we're talking about over $1 million. That's my personal, it's zeroed out.
The amortization money has not been taken away from us where we do not have the ability to spend that. It's being invested. And in the past, it was not invested, it was listed as.
But the requested budget line shows amounts there. So my question is, what's the difference? Why do we go from having a budget in line there with obviously quite a bit of amounts? We've got $253,000 and $146,000, and it's zeroed out in the recommended budget. So that means that we are not approved for expenditures of that amount because it's zeroed out. In my reading of the numbers, am I correct?
It wasn't money that we had requested to be spent anyway. So it wouldn't be.
It's listed in the requested budget line.
Go back to that. Yeah. But we're not recommending that we spend that money. It's there in the proposed budget, the way I read it, we have it. But if we were to say that we were going to spend, that first line, amortization 201.96, $253,800. If we were going to recommend that we spend that,
It would be.
then it would be over there. We're not recommending that we spend that. We have it. But we're not recommending that we spend it. Now, if something comes up that we have to go back and spend some of that, then that will be due process and come in. Same way with the $146,959. It's in an investment over there. We have that money. We're not asking to spend it because we don't know what we need to spend it for. But if something comes up that we do, then we have it. So that's my reading of this document. We have it, but we're not asking to spend it. So therefore, it's not a recommended budget item right now.
So, okay, I have a question. If we have a cycle for that fund, right? We have money that is lined out to be spent on, to replace items and whatnot. So that would be listed above would those funds then be used in the budget
For normal
this way?
operating
Right.
expenditures? No.
Or is it separate?
No, they're just,
Okay.
I don't know, the finance director
Well, that's
pulled
my
those out of the budget,
question.
so I don't know.
Okay, so
how
that's what I'm
the-
trying to figure out,
he's allocated
if those
those
are
funds.
supposed to be, if there's a line outlined for the expenditure of that money, it's separately approved, it's done down there in that amortization portion that's being zeroed out.
Well, I think what's happened is in years past, this money got reallocated and reapproved every year as part of the expenses. So if the Parks Board wanted to go buy something or pay for a big super splash repair, they just went ahead and did it. As I understand the difference this year, the reserve funds or whatever are being reserved for whatever, but if you don't put in your budget in the specific beginning of the year that it's going to be spent on project A, you're going to have to go back and get it approved later on.
Okay.
That's the difference.
But it's still our money.
Right.
That's correct. It's still the Park Board money, but in past years that those expenditures or that reserve was always allocated back in, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kevin, but the reserve monies were always calculated back in as part of the budget and reapproved, and that way if the money had to be spent on a project, the money was just spent. Now it's not part of the budget anymore unless you're going to specifically replace something that the reserve account is designed to help you replace.
And so is that then put into the regular budget?
Well, it would be, let's assume that this was the year we had to replace $300,000 worth of stuff at Super Splash. And people knew that in the beginning of the year, and the account had been amortized and scheduled out under a depreciation schedule to be replaced this year. You would put that in the budget because you're not going to approve that $1.2 million every year to be respent. It's only going to be approved as part of the original budget in the beginning, or it's going to be approved if you have to go to the alderman at some point during the year and ask for it.
Well, I think another example would be if, just take the very first one, $253,000. I don't know what that amortization is for, but let's say it is for Super Splash. If we knew that we were going to replace 5 pumps, we wanted it to come out of there, then and those 5 pumps cost us $120,000, then over here under recommended budget, out of that amortization account, we would list $120,000, and then it would show up down here as a recommended budget.
So
But
we
since
don't
we
have
don't know
anything
that we have
scheduled
to do
this
that.
year.
Pardon?
So as of right now, we don't have anything scheduled this year that we're planning to use.
Sure we do.
Some,
Yeah, we built 20,000 into the budget for Super Splash minor improvements, 7,000 for improvements for Coleman
Okay,
Hall.
so they're moved up here.
Yeah,
Right.
out of the
But they're
money.
used from the amortization fund.
Yeah. Well, keep, oh.
That I'm really
This is
confused.
They could have been.
Okay. Michelle, what happened was, I messed up on the budget, I didn't put those 2 items in, the $20,000 and the $7,000. We had to go to the Board of ALdermen they've already approved those 2 extra line items that are not included.
So they were put into line items. So how is that structured with income versus amortization money? Is it put together then?
It's kind of like if you're doing your own personal budget. You have your checking account that you run all of your bills out of, and you have your savings account. And when you go to figure your monthly budget, you don't factor in this money because this is your savings.
Right.
You're only budgeting with your checking account money.
Right.
But you know at the end of this month, your son's truck's going to break down, you're going to buy a new transmission. So whenever you budget, you take $3,000 out of the savings
Well, I know that's
account,
going to happen.
put it in your checking. He tells you it's slipping. You take it out of your savings account and put it into your checking to include in that budget. That money in the savings account is still yours,
Right.
but it's
I'm
not
just
part of your
wondering,
monthly budget.
I'm just trying to paper trail numbers here so that I know
It's still there. It's just
Right.
not, it's not
Gotcha.
there for us
I
to
was
go
just,
change.
since
Yeah.
those 2 line items
Right.
came
Yeah.
out, that wasn't money that was budgeted from income, from revenue. That was money that was budgeted separately from those amortization funds. And so they're not showing here. So my question is, you know, you budgeted with $100, and then you went ahead and took the additional $200 from the amortization fund. Where is that showing? Is it showing $120 for, you know, does that make sense? Is it showing 300 total for income here? Is that?
Well,
I'm
and
confused
in
myself.
answer to that, if
I'm never dyslexic to begin with, okay?
if that's the
Bear
money,
with me.
now if we were to go back and look at this print up from a month ago, one of these amortizations may show it to be $27,000 bigger. And now it's listed up here in the line item where it goes. One somewhere up here got 20, and somebody else got 7. So now maybe a month ago, that item up there showed less than 20, or $20,000 less, and the second item showed
There's
7.
a lot of numbers here, and there's a lot of line items,
right.
and my brain doesn't process them all at one time. So I'm just trying to make sure
And that's
the
good.
idea
That's good.
of the income for, you know, you can't just show an additional income and not show where it came from. And that's what I'm concerned, potentially. You guys know you sat down and did this, so I'm asking you.
So on that,
Because I'm sure everybody does an ask and the numbers add up. I'm not going to sit here and add it all myself. But I'm just making sure that the reflection of the money that's used from the amortization fund is then mirrored somewhere.
I
as
would
far as
say,
income. If anybody
no, I
knows.
did not go through and add all the numbers up either. Sure. That's
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
At any point in time, if you want, if any of your members want to get the book, or go through the book, or ask questions of Jeremy,
Yeah.
do it before November 11th. Do it before November 11th. But what I'm liking here is you kind of answered your own questions, which I like to hear. But don't hesitate to ask Jeremy questions. Jeremy Wilman, our finance director, has submitted the information.
I wasn't.
Taking the job of the county administrator.
You trying to do good?
I'm thinking.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second to approve the budget. Call for the question. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. We have, as you know, we've had a resignation of our president, so at some point, we need to have a election of officers. It doesn't have to be tonight. It can be at the point when we have a full board of, if we wanted to wait until Mayor appoints the positions that we have Barb's open and Bob's, and Then, at that point, we only have,
It's 2.5.
yeah,
George not been reappointed?
his, the appointment.
So maybe it happened now that they all know me. I'll get my reappointment, so I just kind of hang out in June.
Well, thank you.
And the
George's been doing all
bylaws,
the council meetings too, right, George?
George, I didn't know.
I will now. Hey, remember me?
and the bylaws do
Please
say
don't do that,
that,
because they don't, that I made up completely.
vice president will act as the interim president until such time as you have an election, so.
People have nominations, if you'd like to present some candidates,
Oh, yeah,
that's what I would love to receive those from.
if anybody has somebody that you think would like to be on the park board, or would be willing to serve on the park board, mayor would be greatly appreciative of those names.
Yeah. That'd be great.
So, do we want to table number 4, park board officer special election? Or do we want to have-
I just think it'd be more appropriate if we had a full board.
Okay. I make a motion to table. We have a motion to table. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you. Any other business? John, we have one other business we need to do about to get to the meeting. We need to close this meeting, and then we do need to go into the closed session. To do that, we have to move that we do that, and then close the session.
Move to go into closed session.
I move we go into closed session pursuant to section 610.021 versus 1, legal action, policy action, litigation involving a public government body and any confidential or privileged communication between a public governmental body or its representatives and its attorney.
Sure.
We have a second? Okay, we have a motion to go into closed session. Now, this has to be done by roll call vote. So, Marianne, if you would call our names.
John?
This is a hit of camera in there.
Aaron? Michelle? Yes. Mike?
Yes.
And George?
Yes. Okay, we'll take about a 5-minute recess, and then we'll come back in closed session. We do want to thank all of you that were here. Woody, we'll take your that's kind of a lot to throw at us in one night, but we appreciate it.